Certainly one of, I think, what makes the Patchogue Theatre special than other theaters on Long Island, that it is still community run and it's still so connected to community. So besides having nationally known names, we have live in the lobby celebrating original music from original Long Island bands. The Patchogue Theatre is a true community center where everybody's welcome.
One of the things that a lot of people don't realize about the Patchogue Theatre is that while the building itself is owned by the Village of Patchogue, we are operated by a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So in addition to ticket revenue, we rely on the donations of supporters and community members.
The theater itself is the finest venue for the production of anything that has music or spoken word. And the history of this theater is in its volunteers.
When we started, we were polishing brass and cleaning toilets and doing everything else and scraping gum, and now we're much classier.
It opened originally in 1923. It was a vaudeville theater until about the early 1930s, and then it became a movie theater. By the mid-1980s, that was not working out. The theater closed. Mid-90s, 1996 or so, 3 local businessmen came up with the money to buy the theater and then transferred ownership to the Incorporated Village of Patchogue.
The Patchogue Theatre is such a tremendous asset to this village. Every community has what you may want to call its anchor to its downtown. This theater is that primary asset. It is tremendously, tremendously important. It is as important as the home I live in. I'm a believer. If you own it, you take care of it, or you sell it.
A few years ago, we put a new roof on the theater. It's a period-style roof. Looks like probably the roof they would have put on back in 1923 when they built the theater. And we figured it was about time that we give the theater a little facelift indoors. There's some issues that we saw that need to be addressed. So we're replacing the seats, which are probably about 60, 70 years old. We're doing a little bit of renovation on the things you don't even see, like under the flooring, the roof area.
So my job was to coordinate all the people, work with the engineer, work with the theater, work with our chief building inspector, Peter Sarich.
The reason that this entire second renovation got started was a real need to replace the seats. Not only were the old seats narrow and uncomfortable, but they were installed in such a way that you didn't always have great sight lines of the stage. We brought in a seating professional that's all they do. They were able to put together a floor plan where every seat has perfect sight lines and the seats are tremendously comfortable and very wide.
One of the biggest challenges was just determining how we were going to renovate the ceiling. Coordinating 5, 6 different trades, that was challenging, but I don't think we ran into any huge problems that could not be overcome within the time frame that we had.
The main issue for us as a board was how do we close the theater for 3 months with no income and salaries still that had to be paid. So that was a huge part of what we had a concern about. In terms of the renovation itself, it was done with a group of people, all who specialized in certain areas. So that wasn't as much pressure on the board as the fact that we wanted to make sure we had enough money to cover the expenses that were ours and not go into debt.
Patchogue Theatre is important to the village because it brings people into the village. It's nice when people come to the theater and they see a show. Before the show, have dinner. Maybe after the show, stop by one of our restaurants or walk around the village and enjoy themselves here and come back another time.
Now that we have our seats here in the theater, you can sponsor a seat, you can have your name, or if you want to dedicate a seat to someone, for $500 for orchestra left or right, or $1,000 for orchestra center, you can sponsor a seat and have a plaque affixed to that seat for the lifetime of that seat.
This theater creates that vibe and that feeling of a place that you want to be.
For ways to give back to your community theater, visit patchoguetheatre.org/support.